two-way ANOVA followed by post-hoc test in Jamovi. Two-way ANOVA is factorial ANOVA. The ANOVA is used when there are more than one factor or more than one independent variables. When there are multiple independent variables, then if there are two independent variables, then the two-way ANOVA statistical test is the one to use. Here I had placed data in Jamovi. There are two factors in this data, two independent variables. The first one is the job variable or the job factor. It has four levels or four groups or categories: doctor, dentist, pharmacist, and nurses. The second factor or the second independent variable is the gender, which have two levels or two categories: male or females. The salary is the third variable, which is the dependent variable. It is a continuous variable, and it is the salary earned by individual annually in pounds. To find out whether there is a difference in the salary earned between the levels for factor one, between doctors, dentists, pharmacists, and nurses, and to determine whether there is a difference in the salary earned by male or female, i.e. the second factor, which is gender, and to find also whether the salary is influenced or affected by the combination of both factor, jobs and gender. Then two-way ANOVA or factorial ANOVA statistical test will be performed. Three null hypotheses will be generated. The first null hypothesis states that there is no differences in the mean between level for factor one. The second null hypothesis states that there is no differences in the mean between the two groups for factor 2, which is the gender. And the third null hypothesis states that there is no interaction between factor 1 and factor 2, i.e. there is no effect of job and gender on salary. The way to do two-way ANOVA in Jamovi: first we will explore the data and look at the mean and the standard deviation for each factor. And to do that, click on exploration, click on descriptive, and then in the descriptive move the salary to the variables, and the split by, we're going to split the data by the job and by the gender, and simultaneously the Jamovi will produce a table, and we're going to make it more variables across rows as shown here. The table has been generated and it shows factor 1 with the 4 levels in it, factor 2 with the 2 levels in it, and the number of individuals in each group or subgroup, the mean for each categories, and the standard deviation and the median. We could also plot a box plot as drawn here, shows the box plot for the two factors, the male and the female. The gender here is put here on the x-axis is the gender, male and female, and the jobs are color coded. We could also produce a histogram to show the distribution of the data. We could also go back again to statistics and insert into the table confidence interval for the mean, as shown here, confidence interval for the mean, and that's give a confidence 95% confidence intervals for upper range and lower range. So the essence of using Jamovi, it is easy and straightforward to use, and the table is generated and it can be copied and inserted into Word documents or into a PowerPoint presentation. Now we have generated this table, we have generated a few plots. Then we need to do the statistical test, which is two-way ANOVA. Click here on this icon, ANOVA, then click on ANOVA here. Another window will appear. Again, we are going to move the salary into the dependent variable because that is the variable that we are measuring. And then we move the job into the fixed factor, factor number 1, and then the gender into the fixed factor, factor number 2. Again, as we can see, simultaneously Jamovi produce a ANOVA table showing that well, in fact, it is answering the hypothesis generated. The first one is the first factor is the job, the second is gender, and the third one is job and gender. From the ANOVA table here, it shows that when we compare the means for the salary earned by the 4 levels in the job, doctor, dentist, pharmacists, and nurses, shows here that there is a significant difference. So there is no similarity in salary, and the ANOVA also produce the F ratio value. For the gender, again, male or females, whether there is a difference in the salary earned based on gender, then the ANOVA table shows that there is a significant difference between earning for males and females. And the third one is the interaction, which answers the third hypothesis. Is there an interaction between job and gender? That does job and gender both can affect the salary earned by individual? Again, the table shows that there is a significant difference and there is an interaction between the two factors. If we click into the model here, I'm going to undo this and do them again just to show you how to do it. First of all, I'm going to move the job into the model terms, into that, and then I'm going to move the gender into the model terms, and I'm going to select both and then click here on the interaction so we can get an interaction as shown here. For the assumptions, again, there are certain criteria that need to be fulfilled before committing and continuing to carry out two-way ANOVA, which is the first one is the homogeneity test, homogeneity of variance based on the Levin's test. Again, the table is generated promptly, and it shows that there is no homogeneity of variances, i.e. there is heterogeneous of variances between the groups within the factor or factors. Then this, although this is an assumption that is required to be met, but ANOVA is robust, and we will keep this in mind, but we will continue with the analysis. We could go for normality test and QQ plot. For contrast, I'm not going to select anything. For post-hoc, post-hoc is a post-hoc test is the test that will determine the combination of groups, two groups that shows significant differences. So when ANOVA table is generated here, it does only shows that there is a difference between all the four groups, but it doesn't show which combination of two groups that have significant difference. And post-hoc test will be able to determine that. So we're going to select job and move it to the right side. Again, because it has 4 levels, but gender have 2 levels, male or females. I'm going to move it to the box, and then the interaction between gender and jobs, also move that into the box to generate a table. Post-hoc is generated for the job. As we can see here, job is arranged into 4 levels: doctor, dentist, pharmacist, and nurses. So the post-hoc will compare first doctor with dentist, doctor with pharmacist, and doctor with nurses, and then dentist with pharmacist, and dentist with nurses, and pharmacist with nurses, all possible paired combination. And it will determine the p-value, whether there is a significance between these two combinations, each individual combination. And the table here shows that there is a significant difference. For gender, again, it is two categories, and we already know that there is a significant difference from the ANOVA table. So again, this is repeated here. For the third one, which is the interaction between gender and job, we can see here that if we arrange the data in pairwise, looking at male and females, doctors, and then this is for the first factor, or the gender factor, and the second one is for the job factor, which is doctor, dentist, pharmacist, and nurses. And let's read the same thing for females. Again, the Jamovi will produce all possible pairwise combination to determine whether there is a significant differences between groups. As we can see here, male doctor compared to male dentist, there is a significant differences in the salary. Male doctors to male pharmacists, there is a significant differences. If we scroll down here and look at male doctors compared to dentists, significant differences. Female doctor compared to female dentist, again there is significant differences. So this table shows all the possible combination pairwise between groups. We could also click on the estimated marginal mean, and I'm going to select move the job into the first one here, and then marginal mean, and then move the gender into the second one here. If I click here, I haven't clicked here, so I need to move that to here. And then for a third one is the interaction. If I select the job and the gender and move that into here, we will get a plot. We could also stick to this for the current stage, and if we scroll down, we will see that 3 plots are generated. The first one shows the job factor, which have 4 groups in it, and the average salary earned. The doctors have the highest and the nurse have the lowest. The second plot shows the gender compared to salary, male and females, and we can see here the males earns in average more than females. The last plot is the interaction between those 2 factors, job and genders, and as we can see here that there is a higher mean value for males compared to females, for doctors, and for nurses the same thing, higher for males than females. So this data shows that there is a significant differences between professions whether you are a dentist or a pharmacist or a nurses, and also whether you are a male or a female. This is the way to do factorial ANOVA, two-way ANOVA in Jamovi.